What's up, guys? I figured I would follow the sacred timeline and review one of Marvel's most intriguing shows to come out on Disney Plus to date. You know him as the God of Mischief and the guy with glorious purpose. That's right. I'm here to talk about Loki. So Loki is one of those shows that kind of had everyone scratching their heads like, didn't he die in the beginning of Infinity War? Why is he still alive? How is he still alive? What is going on? So my advice is for you to watch the shorts that are on Disney Plus called Marvel's Legends. They're like 7 to 8 minutes, basically recapping characters that we're seeing in these Disney Plus shows. So you can kind of get like an overview of what's going on, a catch up, kind of understanding the overarching narrative. So I recommend, before you watch Loki, if you haven't already, go and watch Marvel's Legends, the Loki, and I mean, the Tesseract episode is cool. It's not a necessity. The Loki episodes definitely, to me, is a must-do before you watch the actual Loki show. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the review. So, like I always like to do, I like to keep my reviews very spoiler-free, but I don't think a brief synopsis is really a spoiler. So, what happens basically is that we catch up with Loki right after the moment in Endgame where he steals the Tesseract and he ends up in this time variance authority, which is basically this business or company, organization that kind of runs time and makes sure things go according to what they're supposed to happen. And they're run by 3 basically celestial beings called the Timekeepers. And that is the brief synopsis of what this show is. Loki ends up in the TVA. He's wondering what the heck is going on. I just stole the Tesseract because I'm Loki and that's what I want. That's what I want to do. And he ends up kind of ruining the sacred timeline and comes into contact with a kind of an agent of the TVA named Mobius. And they kind of create a relationship of kind of this game of cat and mouse. And, you know, if you've seen the trailer, you kind of already know this, but basically they need this Loki's help to stop kind of a time variant, another time variant besides this Loki, that's kind of ruining the sacred timeline. And so they basically grab this Loki's help. And so it seems like, you know, oh, this is going to be kind of like a buddy cop kind of time traveling kind of show. And you could kind of see like the signs of like, okay, I kind of know where this is going. Or do you? Now, the first couple episodes go the way you probably think they're gonna go. First, I would say 3 episodes. There's only 6 in total. So the first half of the show is like, okay, this is kind of where I think it's gonna go. And by the 4th and 5th episode, especially the 4th episode, you're like, what the heck is going on? It completely veers off to what my expectations were for this show. I was thinking it was gonna go one way and it went completely different direction. All I did know was, I know the director said that it will have massive MCU implications. It will affect the MCU as a whole. And I kind of knew that going in because, you know, it's time travel. So obviously there's something that's going to happen that's going to mess up time or whatever. But I thought it was just Loki going around kind of just ruining time. And that's not what happened at all. And it was very, put it this way, my expectations were here. And the show cranked it up to 11, especially with that finale. I dropped my jaw at the finale. If you're a huge Marvel nerd, it will not be disappointed. I know for WandaVision, there was some lackluster moments, especially with the finale, with Evan Peters being Pietro and all that kind of stuff. Kind of the Ralph Boner joke, you know, that whole thing. So lackluster moment there. I know Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier, I guess, both. Had some lackluster moments as well. It did live up to the hype though, to a degree, but I felt like Loki just exceeded my expectations compared to both of the other Marvel shows. It is the pinnacle of what these shows need to be moving forward. And I know by the end of 2021, which we're still on track to have, Hawkeye and Miss Marvel come out later this year. So I have high expectations now that they have kind of just gone out guns blazing for this Loki show. Now, granted, it's time travel, and other shows maybe are more realistic, kind of like Captain Falcon Winter Soldier or Falcon Winter Soldier. Had more kind of just natural action and not very magic and time travel and all that kind of stuff. So maybe, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different moving forward. But I loved what they did with the show. They completely just obliterated my expectations, and it was a heck of a time. It was such a roller coaster, and just the plot alone, I say watch this show. So as far as the characters go, without going too much into spoilers, obviously we have Loki, we have Mobius, we have some TVA, Time Variance Authority agents, and kind of like the main person who runs the TVA, in a sense, kind of like the judge and jury of what happens with variants and all that kind of stuff. Her name is Renslayer, and she's interesting. I'll just say that without getting into spoilers. She has a very interesting character, very mysterious, yeah. And then, like I said, there's some other agents you get to know, but basically it mostly revolves around Loki, Mobius, and this third character that I'm not going to talk about because it's kind of a spoiler. But these three characters kind of revolves around them. Kind of revolves around kind of what the purpose of Loki is, who he is, and why he's doing what he's doing at the TVA. We get kind of like a backstory and kind of Loki breaking down to his core just in the first episode. It's crazy. And I was like, wow, this show is going to get this emotional in episode 1. You know, we had emotional moments in WandaVision. We had emotional moments in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And we finally got it in Loki just in the first episode. I was super surprised by that. Definitely a great move on the director's front on that end. But yeah, so the characters are great. The cast is very small. And I've noticed kind of these Marvel shows, it kind of just hones in on the character that the show is about. There's not really a whole lot of characters, you know, it's not a massive team-up movie like Civil War or an Avengers film. But to me, I like that for the shows because it makes me want to invest in what the show or who the show is about. So for WandaVision, for Wanda, for Falcon and Winter Soldier, for Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, and for Loki, obviously Loki. So I like, you know, Hawkeye, for Hawkeye and so forth. So I like that they're honing out on these kind of like B and C tier characters. We're getting more backstory. We're getting comic book accurate, new suits and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like revamping and kind of rebirthing these characters that kind of were pushed to the side a little bit in the mainstream films. So I'm hoping just in the future that we're getting more and more of these type shows. And it looks like we are. So, but for Loki, it is renewed for season 2. That's kind of like mainstream news all over, so it's not really a spoiler. I will say there is sadly no post-credit scene at the last episode. I was hoping for one, but the moment I was hoping for actually happened in episode itself instead of being a post-credit scene. So I was happy either way. Like I said, if you are a huge Marvel comic nerd, you will love this finale. I was screaming, I threw a pillow, I almost fell off the couch, like crazy stuff. And if you're keeping up with the MCU and who's playing who, what actors are going into what roles, and you're like a big nerd like me like that, you will enjoy this show. It has plenty of Easter eggs, plenty of jaw-dropping moments. It is a fun time. I thought the action was amazing. I thought the fight choreography was cool. I kind of wish there were more kind of fight scenes, but I understand what they were going towards of like, you know, unraveling the plot and kind of like establishing these characters and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I loved Loki. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Like I said, I can't praise this show enough. Amazing show. Yeah, so give it a shot if you haven't already. Tell me what you thought about it down below in the comments. Oh, comments? What? Down below in the comments. If you like anything I had to say, please leave a like on this video, either on Instagram or on YouTube. And yeah, I appreciate the support. I'll talk to you guys later in the next review.